car that I looked at briefly the other day, but as you can, if you look closer, you'll see it's in a lot better shape, somewhat. I love that thick blue carpeting. The hood's definitely a bit shot, but those fake spoked rims, absolutely love. He's rubbed up against some shit. I like that plate cover too. I love that wood paneling, that's absolutely gorgeous. I find it weird that the rest of the car is perfectly fine, and then you get to the hood, and the hood's just completely fucked. I also find it amusing that there's such a strong aroma of pot right here, and there's that cop right there. That's just weird. That is a weird panel gap. Now, one thing I've always found kind of interesting about cars is, particularly in the 80s and the 90s, you can tell that they are low quality vehicles. They look like absolute garbage. They didn't even look good brand new. And here's another example. If you cleaned it up perfectly, like took it right off the lot, it definitely would look a lot better, but it doesn't look like it would have been that high quality of a car. It definitely looks like it would have been mid-range at best, but it's the Brougham LS and a Caprice, so that actually was one of the higher tier cars of Chevy. And it doesn't look very nice. You can't really deny that it does look kind of crummy. And I've noticed that even with my Trans Am, it's definitely, if you imagine it brand new, it's definitely a better quality car than that would have been. But you can definitely see, like, through the panel gaps, and, well, basically, like, just look at the panel gaps. You can definitely tell that this was never really that high quality of a car. Whereas if you look at cars from the 60s, even by today's standards, they did actually look like a relatively quality car. And the 50s, they looked like fucking houses, basically. They were palaces on wheels. And then towards the 70s, as it became harder and harder and harder to make cars, you can see the quality of the cars themselves drops. And into the 80s, it's almost as if they were just doing the bare minimum to make the car. And if you look at cars in the early 90s, it honestly looks like they were just patching them together. They look like complete garbage. The 90s Chevrolet Monte Carlo is the one I always think of. Have you ever seen that? It, honest to God, looks like it was built by amateurs. It doesn't matter what condition you see it in. It's a cheap looking car. And it looks like it's absolutely falling apart. You know, all those gauges look really cool when you don't realize they don't work at all. But damn, I was looking at a Mercury Coronet earlier, and the steering wheel had to have been at least twice the size of my steering wheel. Like, look how fucking small that steering wheel is. So I can't help but notice that this is the second police vehicle in like 3 days that I've seen parked in an out-of-the-way parking lot. Engine running, just sitting around doing fuck all. Like, even if he was just turning around facing the street so he could actually clock people. Like, the amount of money we spend on cops, and the amount of harassment they put us through, and then they just fucking sit around wasting our tax dollars. It's fucking bullshit. Proof that unfortunately vintage cars are not always the best vehicles to drive. Here we have a 90's Mercedes, and it was a pretty nice car back in the day. Unfortunately, having to be towed away.